Okay everyone, here is what was my reef tank. It was absolutely stunning in there originally, but as most people get, I had a case of ick. Done a lot of reading on the internet, believe me, a lot of reading on the internet. There are some so-called reef-safe treatments out there. To be honest with you, I've tried a couple. They did next to nothing, and I really would not bother getting any of them. There is some success with doing hyposalinity, obviously in a separate tank, but again I wasn't really willing to do that, so I decided to go down the copper route with the quarantine tank. This tank has to be left fallow now for 10 to 12 weeks, so it doesn't need, or should I say, it mustn't have any fish in this tank for the next 10 to 12 weeks. Ick is a parasite, and without a fish in the tank to feed off, to host, it will die off. Some people get away with 6, 8 weeks. I'm going for 12. I'm going the full hog. It was a lot of effort. I'm not taking any chances. Anyway, I took the sand out the bottom of this tank, as you can see, just so the ick don't have anywhere to hide, or less space to hide. And the UV that I've got under here, I'll just show you. I've also fitted a very big DD Deltac UV sterilizer, 39 watt, and I should leave that running constantly. It goes in there, out the other end, just to help. Quarantine tank is just behind us. Sorry for the crappy videoing here, it's on the iPad. I nipped out and bought 130 litre tank. I'll just step back a bit. There you go. It's got an internal filter at the top, it sucks it out there, drops it in the other side. I've got an air stone at the back, just to create a lot more oxygen, because when you're using a lot of meds in the tank, especially copper, it can deplete oxygen levels. So get one in there, keeps the fish a little bit happier. Small 25 watt heater there, keep on top of the temperature drop. Don't put any sand in the bottom, run it bottomless, a lot easier to run. Little bit of live rock in there just to help, because when you first set the quarantine tank up, especially how I had to do it, did not have time to let it cycle. These fish were bad. I needed to get them treated ASAP. Took a bit of rock out of the main tank just to help seed the water in there, just to help the ammonia a little bit. Do not use anything, whether it's rock, heater, nori clip, hose line, anything that goes on this tank. Do not ever again use it in your main display. Once it's tainted with copper, guys, it's a no-go, not worth it. Keep it for the quarantine tank alone. Now, as you can guess, I had set this up pretty quick, had no choice, and as we all know, if you don't cycle a tank properly and you have fish in it, you get a major ammonia problem. And guess what? I had this problem. Get yourself one of these Seachem alert disc, brilliant. Leaves it in there, continuous monitoring, lets you know when ammonia is starting to climb again. Now, let me just show you this thing called ammonia burn. Now, I lost 3 fish, a majestic, a blueface and a regal, to this problem in here because I had to rush it. I had no choice. It was do nothing, let them die, or try and save as many as I can. Let me show you what it does. You see the queen angel there? That's it, that one in the middle. Beautiful fish. Seems unaffected actually. You see the frilly fins, top and bottom? Now this asphat angel actually had those. Now you see how they've been worn away? Almost eaten away. A bit like fin rot, but it's not. See that? And again, look at the emperor. Top fin there. Ouch. Now that is ammonia burn. Never had it before, and then I've never had to do this before. But that is the problem if you don't keep up on top of the ammonia. They seem to have settled down. I mean, I've been doing, this is a 130 litre tank, and I've been doing nigh on 20 litre water changes every 6 hours. It's a complete pain in the butt, but you have to do it. You absolutely have to do it. You cannot use anything like Amquel or any product that binds ammonia, reduces it. Don't use it with medication. It can just create all sorts of problems, make the medication even more stressful on the fish. You just have to, and I repeat, have to do constant water changes. It is a pain, but it will pay dividends if you can save your fish. Then obviously more the better. Like I say, I lost a majestic, I lost a blueface, and I lost a regal, and it was heartbreaking. As any marine hobbyist, any fish keeper knows, they don't like losing stock. It's not just the monetary value; it's the you just don't want to lose the fish. You do get quite attached to them, as silly as it may sound. But unfortunately, I had no choice. I did my best. But these seem to be perking up now. A lot more active. They're eating off the clip a little bit more. I mean, they completely lost their appetite at one point. They just were not eating anything, and I was getting a bit worried. Room's a bit of a mess at the moment. Water change bucket, pipe, salt. Just, I'm not even going to bother putting it away. I mean, I'm getting it out I'm making water every 3 hours and water changing it every 6. So as you can imagine, there's no point in getting it out. Not until things become stable again. Anyway, I shall just, it's main display again. God, I missed that fish being in there. It looks completely empty now. Anyway, I'll show you where I'm making all the water up. In here, RO unit, run it in the showers in case it overfills. I'm not here. Continuously making water. There we go. Now the product I'm using is called Cupramine. This product here. It's slightly easier going on the fish than Cuprazine, so I recommend this one. It says you need 1 milliliter for every 40 litres of tank water. Don't run UV, don't run carbon, don't run any ozone, because that will just break down the medication and remove it. Pretty good stuff. Now, a lot of people are asking the question, because you're doing a lot of water changes, is that going to dilute the copper? No, you must add copper treatment to the new water. You must add it to this water before you put it back to replenish water change to the quarantine. You must add copper to this, because all you'll do is you put fresh water in the quarantine tank, take copper treated water out the quarantine tank, and you just keep diluting it, and it will not be effective. You have to treat the new water that you're water changing with copper, so that the copper level in the tank stays what it should do. It should be, I believe, 0.5 milligrams per litre with the instructions on that bottle. But I'm waiting on a test kit for the copper, obviously, so I can make sure what the level is really, because I'm only guessing really. But it should be about right. I mean, I am following the instructions. I am treating the water change water. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty gutting, as you can probably tell. There's nothing else I can do. Just got to keep water changing until the filter will catch up on itself eventually, and it will get easier. I mean, yesterday, the day before, the fish were in a bad state. They're looking a lot better today. The fins will heal. You can use some, after the treatment, you can use some antibacterial, something like Melafix, Primafix, just to speed up the healing of those fish fins. They will grow back. Just keep an eye on their breathing. Make sure you've got plenty of aeration in the tank. And I think, to be honest with you, I'm through the worst of it. It's a nightmare for anyone to have to do. I mean, I didn't want to have to do it, and when I knew I had to do it, I kept putting it off. I thought, no, it'll go. Yeah. Another thing I'll say is, when they were in this tank, what would happen is I'd wake up one morning and the fish would have a white spot, and I'd go, oh no, what I'll do is tonight I'll set up a quarantine tank and I'll do it. And I'd come in tonight, I'd look at the tank, and guess what? No white spot. And I'd think, oh, my UV must have got rid of it, or my ozone must have got rid of it. Oh, the fish have just fought it off. The fish can fight it off to a certain point, but once you've got ick in that tank, it stays in that tank. There is a cycle. It attaches to the fish, it drops off the fish. At that point you think it's gone. It doesn't. It sits on the bottom of the tank or on the rock or any surfaces. It stays incubating. It then explodes. It then reattaches to the fish again. Mostly during night this happens, and then you wake up the next morning or a couple of days later and hey presto, your fish are covered in ick again. You have to get the fish out. It's as simple as that, and the sooner you start the quarantine process, the follow process, the sooner you can put them back in. Do not hope for some snake oil that you can be sold by a fish shop and just drop it in, it's going to do it. It will not work. Ick is very resilient. In a certain degree, I have a lot of respect for it, because it is very hard to eradicate without quarantining. This tank over here, I'm going to I'm going to leave it set up now permanently so that I can quarantine any fish that I get from now on. At the end of the treatment process of this, I will remove the copper with polyfilter, carbon, bits like that, do a big water changes, get it back to a normal cycled tank status, and I will use it because I didn't quarantine. A lot of people don't quarantine, and I paid the price for it, and I've learned from it. We all make mistakes, but you need to quarantine your stock. It's just not worth it. It's not worth putting the other fish in the main tank at risk. It's not worth the aggravation. I mean, if you can stick it in your shed or your garage, it's even better. It doesn't cost a lot. It's just a basic setup. It doesn't cost a lot to run. But it will pay dividends. I mean, this is going to be kept here now for the foreseeable future. But I'm so glad that I appear, I mean, I'm not going to speak too soon, but I appear to have saved these fish at the moment. I'll keep up top of those water changes, keep everything nice and stable in there, and I'm hoping they're going to pull through. It is a nightmare. I know a lot of people go through it. It's just one of those things. I mean, I think everyone will experience it at some stage if they keep marine fish. But it has to have a host to survive, and it will die out in this main display. The reason we say 12 weeks is I think something like 84 days is the longest recorded time for it to survive in a fish's tank. So, you know, we're just erring on the side of caution. That's all it is. You know, it'd probably be alright in 6 to 8 weeks, but just do 12. It's just not worth it. Just give it the time it needs, and it will pay dividends. Any questions, just drop us a message. It's not the best camera footage in the world, but I just thought I'd just show you, just to give you an idea in case you need to set one up or you're having problems with white spot. But any of these treatments, these so-called reef safe treatments, they just do not work. I mean, yes, a UV sterilizer, for example, on a tank, which I've got on the main display, which is going to help during the fallow period, that will only zap the ick that are in the water column, and only the ick that happens to go through the sterilizer. You're talking thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of spores. You will get some with the UV sterilizer, but you will not get them all. Again, ozone, that's a different subject, a little bit more technical. That does help, but the only surefire way to treat ick is to quarantine with copper. It's as simple as that. Don't kid yourself. I've done it, I've tried it. The only way to treat it is with copper. Cheers, guys.